Luke Spiegelhof, courage starts with the letter D. Courage starts with the letter D. Luke Spiegelhof.
Imagine you just got the job of your dreams. Now, you've been thinking about this job since you were a little kid. And you've tried other jobs, but this one was just the right fit. It was almost like a match made in heaven. So you start the job, you're all excited, and about 9 months later, you get a call from Human Resources. Yes, hello, valued employee. We're going to need to bump your hours up a lot because we're going to give you significantly more responsibilities with very little pay. Thank you for your service. Now, if they did that, you would say, take this job and... But think about it for a minute. Isn't that what becoming a parent is like? You try other relationships, right? You find the right one and you settle down and decide to have a family. And before you know it, you are knee-deep in diapers and late-night feedings. Parenting is hard work. It is long hours. But my message tonight excludes about half of you in this audience. I'm sorry, women, you drew the short end of the stick tonight. And it was luck of the draw that there's 2 speeches geared towards men. Because we know that women bear the unequal burden of raising children in today's world. They often toil behind the scenes, oftentimes not being acknowledged for what they do. But their services not go unrecognized. But this message tonight is for the men in the audience, and you know who you are, right? Here's what I want to talk to you tonight about. I want to talk to you tonight about the difference between being a father and being a dad. You see, to be a father doesn't take very much. Really, all it takes is a woman looking for a good time, and then a few hours, or for some men, a couple minutes, add your DNA, and it is wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you are out of there. Congratulations, you're a father. I know a young man like that. He's less than 30 years old. He has had 5 children by 5 different women. Doesn't care for any of them. Doesn't provide for them financially or emotionally. Yet, he is a father. I'm a mental health therapist, and I work with many types of children and adults. And the clients I work with who talk about the men that contributed half of their DNA that they either didn't know or knew very little of, they call them their father, or their biological father, or even worse, by their first name with a hint of disdain. Here's what I need you to know. Dads are a different breed. Dads are the men who are willing to do things, much like the mothers we talked about before, who are willing to do things behind the scenes, without fanfare, doing it at a sacrifice sometimes to their own needs, because they know that's what their kids need. It's the dad who helps his daughter with her 6th grade homework. Have you ever tried any of that new math? It's crazy. It doesn't work at all. It's the man who gets up in the middle of the night and feeds his infant because he knows his partner needs more sleep than he does. He's the man who comes home after a long day of work and his son says, "Dad, can we throw the ball?" And he says, "Yeah, son." And so he throws the ball with him and plays catch, even though the first thing he really wants to do is to become one with the couch after a long day. And he's the man who comforts his teenage daughter who has had her heart broken for the very first time. And he's the man who's willing to go toe-to-toe with his teenager who wants to go to a party that he would never approve of and he knows would be bad for his kid to go there. That takes courage. I mentioned before I'm a mental health therapist, and I love my job. I get a ringside seat to the human condition. Every day in my office, I hear stories that will break your heart and will literally make your spirit soar. I worked with a young man, another young man, actually less than 30 years old, had an 8-year-old daughter who was basically a handful and a half, oppositional, defiant, wouldn't listen to what this dad told her. And so he was struggling with managing her behavior, so he came to me to get some ideas on how to best help her. And in the process, he was learning some new skills on how to do that. And in that process, he shared with me a story. He said, Luke, I didn't tell you this when we first came in, but I never knew my father. He left before I was born, and I only saw him once after that. He said, and then my mom had a series of boyfriends after that, 2 of which were physically abusive to me, one of which I still have the scars from. And he said, when I was still a teenager, I made a decision that I was not going to be like those men that helped raise me, if you could call it that. He said, I was going to do something different. I was going to try to do the best job I could to be a dad to the children I had. And he said, sometimes my 8-year-old calls me names or does things to me that make my blood boil. He said, but I think about what we're talking about, I take a deep breath, and I keep going. That, my friends, is true courage as a dad. Remember that dad job I told you about earlier? It's still available. Lots of men apply, but few embrace the role. Because it is long hours, it is hard work. But let me tell you this, the lessons I've learned from my daughter and the love I've received from her are worth far more to me than all the riches that King Solomon ever had. And the fringe benefits, they call that becoming a grandparent. So, men of courage, rise up. Dad and daddies, draw near. The world desperately, desperately needs you. And your children need you too. Mr. Toastmaster.